HOA Karen broke into my garage to steal my car and immediately regretted it. If you've ever watched someone speedrun a felony while clutching a clipboard, smash like, and tell me the pettiest HOA crime you've been accused of. I'll go first. I'd moved into the neighborhood roughly 5 minutes before the Suburban monarchy announced itself. The monarch's name was Karen, president of our HOA, crown made of laminated bylaws and a smile like a barcode scanner. Maybe I was too fun for her. Maybe I didn't bow fast enough to Her Majesty. Either way, she locked onto me with all the focus of a queen bee who's heard a rumor about a cooler hive next door. She pestered me in waves. Notes on my door about decorative nonconformity. I put a welcome mat with a joke on it. Emails about trash can visibility. I own binoculars. Karen, not a periscope. And one thrilling summons for grass audacity. Every time, I pushed back, politely, with receipts, and just enough sarcasm to make her left eye twitch. Petty fines evaporated, warnings were re-evaluated, and Karen's smile lost 2 shades of confidence. So she shifted targets. If she couldn't get me, she'd go after the thing she knew I adored, my car. It's not quite a classic, but close enough to be mistaken for one by anyone who uses vintage as a personality. I treat it like a friend with a heart murmur. Karen noticed the way I wiped it down, the way I parked it like I was docking the space shuttle. You could see the plan bloom behind her eyes. Ruin the car, ruin the man. What she didn't know, the car is not simple. I bought it from my friend Derek, a tinkerer who thinks warranty void is a pep talk. For fun, because of course, he'd installed his own security system. Not NASA level, not Skynet, just Derek. Clever, slightly unhinged, and very effective. It syncs to my phone via an app, and when you start the engine, the dash flashes a little security check. You have to press a few dead simple keys and flip 2 toggles. A handshake, so the car knows you're you. Miss the handshake, and it assumes you're a thief. Then it gets theatrical. Saturday rolls around. I head out on foot to run an errand, literally around the corner. Sun out, birds chirping, everything very live, laugh, larceny. Karen spots me leaving. She must have smelled opportunity the way sharks smell blood or HR smells jeans on a Wednesday. She beelines to my garage. Somehow she's got a master key, because of course she does, and that door slides open like she's in a heist movie scored by passive aggression. She steps in with that smug face that says, "I enforce community harmony by violating your boundaries." Right by the entrance, hanging on a little hook, are the spare keys. Yes, careless of me. On the other hand, the trap needed bait. I'll accept my clown nose in exchange for what came next. Karen snatches the keys, never noticing the tiny cameras above the door and along the rafters. I've got house cams, garage cams, and, thanks to Derek, cabin cams. We have angles, we have coverage, we have receipts. But Karen? Karen has a plan and a smirk. She opens the driver's side door like she's blessing peasants. Slides in. Adjusts the seat, because even in a felony, lumbar support matters. She twists the key. The engine turns over. The dash blooms to life. A modest beep, a polite glow of letters. Security check. She doesn't see it. Why would she? Karen's used to the world listening when she says, "I'm in charge." She rolls out of the garage, metal humming, tires edging onto the driveway. I imagine she's thinking of triumph, of meetings where she'll sermonize about unauthorized vehicles while wearing my victory like a brooch. Then the doors click. It's the neatest little sound, like the car clearing its throat. Every lock drops. The engine stiffens, brakes catch, and the car stops dead, exactly halfway into the sun. The speakers come alive. Thief detected. Thief detected. Karen jumps, shrieks, then rallies. Quiet. I'm the HOA president. The car, tragically, does not recognize rank. There's a beat, like it's considering her resume. Then that flat, cheerful voice again, going to phase 2. What? Karen yelps, hands flailing at buttons that won't listen, eyes wide enough to qualify as headlights. Somewhere, a farther off bird decides this is above its pay grade and shuts up mid-chirp. I'm still walking, oblivious, my phone pocket warm against my thigh, the app waiting to ping. The neighborhood is quiet in that suspense movie way. Still air, bright sun, and in my driveway, a queen discovering that the crown does not, in fact, double as a key. The car paused like a game show host, and then chirped, friendly as a toaster. Phase 2 completed. Going to Phase 3. What the? Karen squeaked, eyes ricocheting across the dash like trapped marbles. The speakers obliged by detonating Sweet Home Alabama at near concert volume. Not loud enough to break glass, loud enough to threaten friendships. Lynyrd Skynyrd burst from my not quite classic like the band had been stuffed in the glove box and finally found the doorknob. Karen clawed at the volume, slapping every knob like she was whack-a-moling for her freedom. The music did not care. It got louder. Then Derek's pieced a resistance. A soft hiss from the vents and two little nozzles tucked along the dash edges. Pale white smoke poured into the cabin. Technically cooled steam. Practically theatrical fog. Emotionally, hell. Karen yelped, then started pounding the window with the wide-eyed panic of a cat realizing the vet appointment is for them. Thief detected, the car had said. Now it suggested dancing. Since we were already halfway out of the garage, every bit of this played out in full sight of the street. Which meant witnesses. Which meant a chorus. First up, mailbox guy. He ambled across his lawn, flipped his box open, pulled out a newspaper, and then froze. The newspaper slid from his fingers in slow motion. What the? He breathed, watching Karen bounce inside my car like a moth on a lampshade while Skynyrd did the Lord's work. Second witness, a runner cruising past in neon optimism. He did a double take so hard, he kept running while his face was turned 90 degrees the wrong way and promptly yeeted himself into a hedge. The hedge won. Third, porch neighbor with a mug of tea. He took one heroic sip, stepped outside, saw my driveway concert fog machine, and blew Earl Grey out his nose like a party trick no one asked for. Within minutes, the street transformed into a neighborhood premiere. Phones came out in unison like the world's pettiest fireworks display. People gathered, bathrobes, flip-flops, folding chairs appearing from nowhere, as if my car had started selling tacos. Inside the car, Karen hit the apex of denial. Quiet. I'm the HOA president, she bellowed, as if the sound waves would sign a ceasefire. The system, unflustered, responded by looping the guitar riff and tossing fresh puffs of steam every 15 seconds like a metronome. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Intrusion detected, garage. Then another. Vehicle security, unauthorized start. I stopped walking and stared at the screen, then at the direction of my house. The neighborhood's ambient soundtrack, screams, Skynyrd, and someone cackling, floated to me on a warm breeze. I started back at a brisk pace that said, responsible homeowner, and please let this be as funny as it sounds. Blue and red lights strobed at the corner just as I turned onto my street. A patrol car rolled up with that cautious, we've seen things vibe. Officers stepped out, scanning a scene that looked like an SEC tailgate held inside a foggy jukebox. They started pushing the crowd back with practiced diplomacy. Folks, give us some space. Yes, you can keep filming. No, don't climb the hood. I slipped through a gap when someone shouted, there he is. It's him. And about 30 camera lenses swiveled toward me like sunflowers chasing the sun. Karen, from inside, screeched, arrest him, which did not help her case. An officer angled toward me. Sir, is this your car? Yes, I said, hands visible, voice calm. It is. Can you explain what's going on here? I left on foot to run an errand, I said, tapping my phone, then got notifications from my garage cams and my car security system. The officer blinked. A car security system? An original development of my friend Derek, I said. He's inventive. MMH. The officer nodded, something clicking into place. That actually tracks. We, got a call from a kind of robotic voice. Reported an intrusion and an attempted vehicle theft. Gave us exact GPS coordinates. Let us right here. I remembered Derek telling me something about that. Late night pizza, him grinning, me nodding like I'd ever need it. I hadn't listened. I should have listened. Yeah, I said. It has extensive features. The officer's mouth twitched like he was trying not to smile. He glanced at the fogging, howling car with the HOA president inside shouting about her sovereignty. Okay, he said, business returning to his tone. Sir, if this is your vehicle and you have control, could you release the lady from the car? Yes, of course, I said, and opened Derek's app. One thumb press and a very polite chime cut through the guitar riff. The speakers announced, crisp as a flight attendant, delay phase over. Going into standby mode. The fog paused mid-swirl like it had received a cease and desist. Locks thunked open. The car exhaled. Karen didn't walk out. She detonated. She launched from the seat like an Olympic hurdler, landed, and immediately started orbiting the car, finger-jabbing at random citizens. You, I will convict you all, she shrilled, which is a bold sentence to aim at a crowd cheerfully filming your felony from 13 angles. She pivoted on me and the officers. Arrest him. He is a criminal. Arrest him for what, Karen? I asked, calm as a yoga instructor. You broke into my property and tried to steal my car. That stalled her engine. The officers glanced at each other. A quick, synchronized "did she really?" look. Karen rallied. You imprisoned me in your car. In the car you climbed into yourself? I said. Another quick cop glance. Somewhere behind us, teen neighbor wheezed. Mailbox guy murmured, "Oh man," and tried not to grin into his own camera. I kept my voice steady. I have recordings from the house cameras that show you opening my garage. And the car has interior cameras. They filmed everything. The officer's eyebrows did a small, delighted waltz. The case was aging into a story they'd tell at potlucks. It doesn't matter. Karen snapped. You imprisoned me and tortured me. How? I asked, unable to keep the corner of my mouth from betraying me. You were completely safe in my driveway. With music. Sweet Home Alabama. It's an American classic. Smoke, she barked, triumphant as if she'd just discovered the concept of clouds. You could have poisoned me. It's not smoke, I said. It's cooled steam. Frankly, with how hot it is today, it's a courtesy. Consider it an air moisturizing spa experience for the more comfortable enjoyment of the car you wanted to steal. Karen froze, index finger raised like a loading cursor. Her face cycled through settings. Outrage, confusion, bargaining, Windows error ding. The crowd went quiet, the kind of hush that happens right before someone drops a mic. One of the officers turned away, covered his mouth, and his shoulders started shaking. The other cleared his throat so hard it had punctuation. Ma'am, he said, regaining professional tone by sheer force. You're going to have to ride with us. Me? Why? Arrest him. He's a criminal. Karen shrieked, pointing at me like I was a tornado she could scold. It's obvious, the officer said, choosing his words with tweezers. We'll also need, sir, all copies of the recordings. Of course, I said. Garage cams, driveway cams, cabin cams. I'll export everything. They each took an arm, gently but firmly, and steered Karen toward the patrol car. She tried to plant her heels. Flip-flops do not excel at civil disobedience. Phones tracked her like paparazzi stalking a raccoon in a tiara. As they reached the door, the officer who'd kept a straight face leaned toward me and dropped his voice. Sir, not for the record, that was amazing. And one more thing. I might need your friend's number. Just in case. I smiled. No problem, officer. I'll text it. They guided Karen's head so she wouldn't smack it on the door frame, which was generous, considering the day she'd had. She thrashed, hair frizzing like an angry dandelion. You have no right. I'm the president of HOA. The door closed on the last vowel. The street let out a collective, irreverent cheer. Someone actually slow-clapped. I stood there, hands in pockets, adrenaline finally clocking in. The fog residue curled lazily from the dash vents. The last notes of Skinnerd were still evaporating from the air like gossip. My phone pinged again, event log saved. I glanced at the screen and then at my driveway, which now looked like the aftermath of a block party where the headliner was consequences. The second officer came back over with a clipboard and an apologetic pen. We traded the necessary details, name, ID, phone, email, as the crowd murmured and dispersed in little clusters of "Did you see when?" and "I got it in 4K. A jogger limped by with a leaf in his hair, gave me a thumbs up, and kept moving. Somewhere in the group, a kid asked his dad if cars could talk now. Some of them, the dad said, and some of them sing. The patrol car pulled away with Karen still mid-lecture, her voice Dopplering into the warm afternoon. Unity standards, Vic, Harmon, preside. Then she was gone, carried down the street like a cautionary tale with a blowout. I looked at my car, patted the fender. Good job, I murmured. From inside, perfectly innocent silence. No more phases, no more fog. Just a very well-behaved hunk of steel pretending it hadn't just hosted the HOA talent show. And that's when the internet got involved. But I'm getting ahead of myself. And that's when the internet put on its cape. By dinner time, at least 4 angles of Karen's greatest hits were online. Mailbox guy's shaky cam, runner's hedge cam, complete with leaf in the lens, porch neighbor's T-cam, and somebody's drone because apparently we live in a nature documentary. Titles range from HOA President versus Physics to Sweet Home Alabama. The comments were a buffet. Never thought Skinnerd would be used for crime prevention. Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. And my personal favorite, the fog machine is killing me. Same, internet. Same. Police called that evening to say she'd been released on bail. I didn't press charges. Not out of saintliness, out of efficiency. Karen had baked herself into a meme, and memes do cardio. They chase you. By morning, the clips had multiplied like rabbits with ring lights. Edits, remixes, subtitles. Someone added a sound effect every time the locks clicked. Ka-chunk with tiny crowns popping off. Another slowed the thief detected line and pitched it down until it sounded like the voice of judgment. One video stitched her yelling, "I'm the HOA president," with a big flashing "access denied." It was art. The state's local news circuit sniffed the trend and did that serious anchor voiceover while playing My Driveway like it was the Zapruder film. At approximately 2:17 p.m., the vehicle announces Phase 2. The guy intoned, as if Phase 2 involved geopolitics and not Skinnerd. Then, oh no, somehow the house cam footage accidentally found its way online. Must have been a slip of the finger while I was, say, exporting clips to a folder labeled not for public consumption. Definitely don't post. Oopsie. You could see her using a key in my garage door, zero hesitation, full confidence that the world belonged to her clipboard. The car's cabin cams also leaked. What followed were masterpieces. 2 minutes of pure cinema. Karen's face when the locks clicked, the exact moment Sweet Home Alabama detonated, the first fog bloom curling around her hair like dramatic irony, the finger wag that turned into a flail. People adored them. I got DMs from strangers thanking me for the best short film of the year. HOA life became chilly. Karen's old allies started crossing the street rather than risk proximity to a viral tornado. At the next community gathering, a potluck that tasted like schadenfreude, I watched her attempt to glide in like nothing happened. She didn't so much glide as aquaplane on shame. The murmurs rose, a few stifled giggles escaped, and then a bold neighbor, a man with the serene confidence of someone who owns 2 smokers and a lawn throne, said, "Don't worry, Karen, I'll send you a postcard from the property you tried to steal." Laughter detonated. She tried to stare it down. The stare failed. She lasted 8 minutes. The resignation email hit the neighborhood list that night. No apology. Of course not. Just a crystalline paragraph about transitioning leadership to preserve community harmony. Sure, harmony. The word you use when the choir refuses to follow your kazoo. 2 days later, a realtor sign sprouted in her yard like a white flag on a stick. She didn't even stay to stage it. No farewell rounds. No last tour of control. The house was emptied by professionals with the energy of "we are not paid enough for this cameo." I watched from my porch as the moving truck swallowed her furniture, and the only time a smile touched my face harder was when the foreman walked backward off the curb, caught himself, and muttered, "Sweet Home Alabama." He cut it off, but I heard it. We all heard it. By the end of the week, she was gone. The internet, satisfied, moved on to a raccoon heist at a convenience store. My driveway returned to its pre-concert tranquility. I kept the spare keys off the wall hook, installed a little safe by the workbench, and gave the camera lenses a fond pat like loyal dogs. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then I remembered the emails, the fines, the holy crusade against my welcome mat. I remembered her voice Dopplering down the block. I'm the president of HOA AA, as the patrol car carried the vowel away. Goodbye, Madam President. Enjoy your offline exile. About a month later, the neighborhood exhaled back into ordinary. Cicadas' practice scolded the trees, sprinklers ticked like lazy metronomes, and my porch found its groove as a caffeine station. I sat with a mug of coffee hot enough to interrogate, watching a realtor sign wobble in the breeze across the street. Karen's kingdom had long since been vacuumed, wiped, and deodorized into real estate neutrality. A moving truck lumbered up, sighed, and opened its steel mouth. Out came boxes, lamps, a piece of furniture so aggressively beige it could pass for a witness. The crew flowed with that weary ballet of people who have carried every object known to man twice. Then she stepped out of a mid-size SUV, white hair, crisp blouse, posture like a yardstick. She pointed once, crisply, and a stack of boxes obeyed. My coffee paused halfway to my mouth. No, surely not. Statistically, the universe wouldn't do me like this twice. Then she issued a second command. Careful with the dining set, please. It's heirloom, in that tone. You know the tone. The one that turns please into a subpoena. I squinted. Same haircut archetype. Same managerial aura. The moving lead nodded with the terror of a man who has recently learned about placemats. It can't be, I told my coffee. She noticed me. The smile materialized, perfectly friendly with a chaperone. She crossed the street with a glide that had seen many HOA newsletters. Hi there, she said, bright as kitchen lighting. I'm Marcia. Just moved in. From another area where, well, you know. She lowered her voice like she was sharing a trade secret. They value community spirit. I hope it will be the same here. There it was, community spirit, that catch-all perfume that smells suspiciously like compliance. I matched her smile with one of my own, the pleasant kind you wear to funerals and bake sales. Oh yes, I said. We have events here that unite the community. That's great, she chirped, sweet enough to set off a bee. Her eyes shifted past me and landed on my driveway. Great car, she added, pointing, admiration and assessment braided together. Thank you, I said. She held the smile a beat longer than strictly necessary, then pivoted back to her boxes, calling to the crew with that crisp yardstick cadence. Front room, please. No, not there. That's the family room. Watch the threshold. Thank you. I watched her go. The porch would warm under my bare feet, the mug leaving a little ring on the rail. A memory flickered, fog curling from a dashboard, a guitar riff sawing the afternoon in half, a voice insisting it was the president of HOA. The echo faded, leaving the faintest grin behind it. Across the street, Marcia adjusted a wreath on the door that hadn't even been properly shut yet. She had the same comet tail of expectation Karen wore, that the world would arrange itself around her calendar. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just first-day energy. Maybe my neighborhood had pulled a rare card from the deck labeled sequels. I looked at my car. Sunlight slid over the hood like a compliment. The paint held the day, the chrome blinked. A robin hopped along the grass and gave it a once-over like it, too, approved of security features with personality. Maybe you're Karma's car, I said to it softly. Maybe your mission is to teach people like her? The car said nothing, because cars rarely deliver punchlines on cue. It just sat, polite and patient, like a bouncer who doesn't need to explain the dress code twice. Marcia finished directing a bookcase with the authority of a traffic controller and headed inside, already on a phone call. I could hear snippets, committee, standards, newsletter template. My grin edged up one more notch. I sipped my coffee, savoring the calm like a prelude, and patted the fender with two knuckles. Well, I told the driveway, the sky, and whatever gods manage suburban comedy, we'll see. I tipped my mug toward the street like a toast, leaned in, and whispered to the only co-conspirator that had never once betrayed me. Full speed ahead. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.